Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Brian Wong, who's the co-founder of fashion brand Normalized. Brian, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm excited to talk with you because I know you've got a great story and company. Give us a little bit of your background and your entrepreneurial journey.
Sounds good. So I actually I'm doing this business on the side of my corporate job, and I'm doing this with a co-founder that he based out of China or Macau, and his name is Kingsley. So essentially, we decided that, okay, we need to do this on the side. We cannot, at this point, afford to quit our full-time job to do this just for financial reasons. We have been, we set up this brand around early 2021, so at the peak of the pandemic. So because of that, obviously, everything is remote. And then we launched, it took some time, but we basically launched at the end of 2022, so it took about almost 2 years, and so now we're live. We are I would say, sustainable fashion brand. We also have a bit of a storytelling component in our brand, in which our ambassadors are not professional models, but instead they are people that we think have intriguing story to tell, and we are trying to use our platform to discover that.
That's neat. So I want to dive in deeper about a couple things, one of which is ambassadors. That's a unique way to use ambassadors as opposed to high influencers. And then also sustainability. What makes your brand focus on sustainability? How does that look?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, I do not have a fashion background. Both my co-founder and myself, we both have a business, more like a business background, accounting background. But when he has been working in the fashion industry for a few years now, and then he said that actually back in China, there are a lot of factories that is common practice to have a bit of buffer on their material that they use to make different products. And usually those buffer will never get used, and then they end up, they go to the wasteland. And so we were like, okay, those are end-of-line material that we can actually use to make our products, even the one that you're seeing right now. All of our products are using end-of-line materials. Now that there are naturally some constraints coming with that. For example, we don't get our picks of colors. We don't get our picks of how many units we can make, because there's only there is a fixed amount of end-of-line materials. But that's one way that we try to, contribute into the sustainability movement. The other part is that, as you know, again, in fashion, there are a lot of different packaging, right? Whether it's paper or plastics and all of that. And so for the packaging of our products, we actually, it looks like a plastic bag, but it's actually not a plastic bag. Is what they call a water soluble material, meaning if you put those bags or that material into, say, I think 80 degrees Celsius or above of heat of water, it will just dissolve. Wow. So it doesn't generate any kind of plastic. It doesn't contribute to the already very high amount of plastic waste that we have every day. So those are like kind of, what we think at this point, for a startup, that practical ways that we can help contributing into this movement. And of course, when opportunities present themselves in the future, we may try to do more. But at this point, these are things that we try to practice on a regular basis.
Yeah, I love that bag approach because you have to deliver your product in something. But if it's like on your website, it says the invisible bag. If it just like poof goes away and it's see through and it's not plastic and it helps the environment, that's really amazing. That's a differentiator. So I love that approach. And let me just ask a question about the materials and the scraps. Do you access those scrap materials for all of your designs? Is that how you get your fabric, or is that just an aspect of it?
No, it's all of them are basically, like I said, so right now we already made our first batch of products. They are all sitting in the warehouse right now, waiting to be shipped. And they are all made with end-of-line materials. Like I said,
That's awesome.
it's 100% at this point. I mean, there are no like really, if you think about it, it's not any different from say regular cotton or polyester or whatever. They are still the same thing. It's
Yeah.
just that traditionally, and you're talking about even for a mid-sized factory in mainland China, even their quote-unquote buffer can be tons in half a year.
Yeah,
So
it's
think
not
about
the it's not the discard throwaway. Oh, that it got damaged. We're going to use that. It's just the extra pieces that gets used.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love that. That's really cool. So really, in reality, no two designs are the same because it could be a scrap from this batch and that batch.
Yeah, you can think of it that way. And also like depending on how you look at it. Like for example, I think the one that I'm wearing right now, I think we may only have. I need to double check, but I think we have a very limited amount of units. Like obviously these are not information that we share with the public, but when I was looking at the SKU count, when I look at the list of the quantities that we have, you don't see round numbers, right? Like usually you'd be like, okay, let's make 500 each of this style for each color, right? And for us, it's like 162, and then you see 3, and then you see 42, and it's like, these are within the same SKU. It's just within the same style. So that's kind of the, to your point, like, do we want to look at it like as glass half empty or glass half full, right? Like, yes, obviously it is a bit of a constraint, but can we turn it around and then present it as like, okay, well, but that's what's making it more unique and more maybe exotic compared to like the regular way of doing it.
I love it. It's really, really awesome. So where did the name Normans come from? What does that stand for?
Yeah, so I think, so first of all, like, it's mostly men's apparel product, although we do have quite a few products that is actually fairly popular with females that and then I think now we can actually say that some of them would be more unisex product. How did the name came about is that it is a Toronto-based brand. Our manufacturing is in China, but basically everything else is in Canada, is in Toronto, including our designers. So all the products are designed in Canada. So obviously, as you know, it's the northern side of the earth, right? Canada, or if you even look at North America, it's kind of on the northern side of it. So we're like, okay, north, and then men's apparel. So why don't we just combine the two words together?
Yeah. Neat. Yeah. Like North America and men, Normans. Cool. Well, you ought to create a little mascot and name him Norman, and that's the mascot for the brand. So
there you go. There you go.
So you now are remote and virtual. Talk a little bit about you probably had to do it during launch that way because of the pandemic, but now you're running the brand with remote. Talk a little bit about how you're keeping daily operations and everything going with that setup.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's funny because Kingsley and I, actually, we have been friends since we were 15 years old. We are both now 31 years old. So we have been friends for like many years. And throughout the years, we kept in contact, but we never really met in person too many times, even, well before the pandemic, because just timing and different locations and all the different reasons. When we talk about starting this brand, to your point, we cannot meet in person, right? It's at the peak of the pandemic. So there's like restrictions everywhere. But we kind of make great use of technology. I mean, that's the reason why like we have meetings like this, like virtual meeting on a regular basis. We use a lot of voice notes on WhatsApp just to communicate, right? And you're right, like there are challenges, especially when we are in like completely different time zones. They are like 13 hours ahead of us or 12 hours ahead of us. So there are challenges like that. But the great thing about our partnership is that we really have great trust with each other. Even small things like, for example, I may send a bunch of voice notes to him, and I may not get a response until say 24 hours later.
Yeah.
But because we have that trust, we know that it's going to come back. It's just probably, maybe he is in like dinners with clients or like have other commitments, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So we never, like, if you think about it, like for a remote working setup, some of these small things can really, start to have cracks in the partnership, and those are never our issues because we have that trust we have that friendship to build up on. And then we are kind of, I won't say we're tech savvy, but we just kind of resourceful that when it comes to, okay, we want to do X, we want to do Y. So now let's reverse engineer. How do we make that happen? Like I want to, like small thing as like, okay, we need to incorporate in Canada. Okay, great. Now for us to incorporate in Canada, we need signature. And then so how do we do all those things? Like, because different countries have different rules, and we basically maximize the amount of things that we can do on a remote basis to get this brand from 0 to 1. Right, we get from nothing to launch, and it's proven that it's doable. Put it that way. Yeah. Right, and on top of that, we also have our day job. Right, so yep. So I think it's sometimes when we that moment really hit us, like, because we never, like Kingsley and I never talked about like, like we're doing this remotely. It's such a unique setup. It's only until I think in recent months that there are a lot of discussions about, okay, what is the new working model? Should we be like fully working from home or like hybrid, especially for tech companies? Like there are a lot of discussions like that. And then we were like, wait, we just did this whole thing, especially by the time that it launched, fully remote. No human interaction. The last time I met him in person was 2018 or 19. Yeah. So that I think I guess long story short would be, it's 100% doable as long as we have that level of trust and also we have the level of maturity to make that work.
And there's always the stories of the people that take advantage of it and do it the wrong way, but there's also the ones where it's like, you know what? These employees are appreciating the flexible work schedule so much that they actually are getting more done because they appreciate the flexibility to take their kids to soccer practice in the middle of the day and then come back and work till 7 or 8 at night to get their work finished up and then do even more. So I think it's definitely the model that we're moving toward these days. It's not going to be 100% one way or the other. I just think that having that virtual availability just gives so many options to people. So that's really amazing. So what's next for Normans? Where are you guys headed next?
Yeah, so right now we are in Canada. We soon will be also available in the US. And right now I think we are at a kind of still, learning the market, learning what works, what do not work, right? Like I wish I have a more say some numbers that I can share with you, but we are still at a very early stage where we're still kind of discovering trial and error, and we know that and I think that's back to the maturity part that we talked about. Like we not to say that it's any less challenging sometimes, but we know that there is we are realistic about it, that we know we need to go to a stage where we think it's going to work this way, we try that, may not work, try something else until we get into a rhythm where like we can now like what they call like a well-oiled machine that hopefully we can scale from that point onward. At this point, additional market, different marketing tactics, different social media presence is what we're trying, and getting on podcasts. Right, it's one of the ways that for us to promote our brand,
get the word out. Yeah, well, I love your approach, your sustainability, your unique sourcing of materials. I just think that's so wonderful. So thank you so much, Brian, for coming on. What's the best way people can learn more about Normans?
Absolutely. So they can certainly come to our website. It's normansapparel.com, NORMANSAPPAREL.com. And actually, we have a special gift for our audience of this podcast that everyone, all the audience of this podcast can use a promo code of 20% off on any products. There's no limits on it. It's influential entrepreneur 20, the percentage sign, and then off. That would be a promo code. So feel free to enjoy that, and hopefully you find something you like.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for Brian for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.